Marcel Hug, it's a total pleasure to be having a conversation with you today. And when our paths crossed in Switzerland there a few months ago in terms of Olympic medals, your marathons, and all of that. So if you can just kind of give us a fair bit of detail into what goals you've achieved, what silvers you've achieved. And feel free to, you're not boasting, but it's just that we would love to find out like what you have done.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Yeah, I am a Paralympic athlete, Paralympian in wheelchair racing. So I do middle and long distance on track, but also on the road, like marathons. And yeah, I do it since a very long time. I started almost 30 years ago, so 1996, I started with as a little kid with wheelchair racing. And yeah, had a lot of competitions, and I already did 6 Paralympic Games. So started, the first one was 2004 in Athens, and the last one was in Paris last year. And yeah, I won a few medals. 7 gold medals in total at the Paralympics. First Paralympics in Athens, I won 2 bronze in 1500 and 800 meter, which was a very big surprise. I was 18 years old, so yeah, it was a huge surprise also for myself. And in the meantime, yeah, I won several world championship titles, European championship titles. I am holding 6 world records from 800 meter up to marathon. Um, I won 2 awards at Laureus World Sports Awards as a Paralympic athlete or athlete with a disability. Yeah, I think that's
It's
the most
amazing.
important things.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But it also kind of provides a tremendous insight into the human endeavor. You know that. Can I just ask a little bit about your disability? Is
Sure.
your little the background to it? Was it something you were born with, or was it an accident, or how did it?
No, no, I was born with it. I was born with Spina Bifida. That's Latin and means an open spine by birth. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm in a wheelchair. When I was a kid, I did I'm very happy and very lucky that I can walk a little bit with crutches and orthesis. Um, but then I got the first daily wheelchair with the age of 8. So
And
yeah, so
do
very,
you
very.
remember it in terms of like how did it feel, or do you have any kind of direct memories of that day? Was it quite helpful for you? I'm assuming it was.
Absolutely, it was very helpful because it was very difficult to do my daily life with crutches. It was exhausting as well, of course, but also when I went to school, it was sometimes difficult to hold something because I had my hand full with crutches. And then, yeah, it was a new kind of freedom to get the wheelchair. And then, of course, I came into the sport, which also meant a lot of a new world, a new freedom from me, and a new passion for the sport.
And you must have come into it fairly soon afterwards, because are you 37 years of age?
39
You're
already.
39.
Mhm.
So like, can you remember that point? So you're in your wheelchair, and you must have done some challenge, and you figured out, wow, this is something that I could be okay at.
Yeah, it was such great. It was a great experience for me to feel that I am very good in something like in sport. And many people told me that I am talented and I should keep uh, keep going in doing wheelchair sport in any kind of sport. And then I also tried different kind of sport. I went to a sports club where we did different kinds of sport. Uh, of course, just on a fun level. But then I also came in contact with wheelchair racing, which I knew already from the media. I knew some athletes. I met some athletes in wheelchair racing, and yeah, and I tried it and loved it from the beginning, and saw that I have a lot of talent. Also from my body, I have a quite a long arm span, which is very helpful for this sport.
And was there one person or anybody in particular who kind of seen something in you and decided to nurture that talent? Or was it a number of people? Sometimes one person can be very instrumental.
Yes, first it were a lot of or many people had an influence, but then in the same year when I started wheelchair racing, I met also my coach, Paulo Roman, who is still my coach now, which is very unique. I think that I have the same coach
It's
29
like,
years
it's
now.
like a marriage. It's even
Yes, it is.
it
It
survived
is.
survived more
Absolutely.
than most marriages. So it has.
Yes. With all advantages and disadvantages. And no, it's very sometimes I think it's a huge performance or achievement that he can still work together with me.
But it
And
obviously goes
yeah,
from both sides, you know, because if I look at the likes of, I'm reading Surrender by Bono and U2, and they're a band that have been together for decades as well.
yeah.
And it kind of has to be a particular sort of personality, one who is prepared for compromise, and also to accept that, yes, there are times that you're going to disagree about things. So that's the kind of relationship that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems that we have a good match together. We are a quite similar personality, quite, and yeah, I don't know that word in English, but maybe we like to have having harmony.
Compatible. Oh,
Yeah,
harmony. Harmony, yes.
harmony,
Yes.
but which doesn't mean that we don't have any conversation. I mean, that's very important, and also sometimes to disagree or yeah, have discussions, and then in the end we come together and find the solution. And it's also very important, I think, to have or to be open for new inputs from the outside, to listen to other persons and to be curious to other kind of things, other kind of training systems, or yeah, to be open for new things. That's very important because when you're together for such a long time, it's a bit dangerous that um, you don't come or move forward.
It's almost as if people go into autopilot and they just kind of go through the normal day-to-day activity without asking the question, is there anything that I can be doing better? But you know,
Mhm.
that's going to differentiate you though from the normal run of the mill, because
Mhm.
there has to be some reason as to why you've been able to achieve what you've done. So you said that, okay, genetics, you've got longer arms, so you that's helpful. Um,
Mhm.
Other things that are helpful, what would you say if I was to ask you, like, what are the principal things that allowed you to do what you've done?
Yeah, I mean, there are many things that are very helpful to be successful. I mean, yes, a good body, a healthy body is very helpful. Also, long upper body is very helpful for wheelchair racing. Of course, mental skills are very important to have fun, to find a passion, to find a discipline, to work hard every day. But also an environment, a supporting environment is very important for me. yeah, from my family, from my coach, from my sponsors, from everywhere. I get a lot of support, which I don't take for granted, and which is very, very important and helpful. And of course, also the material, the racing chair, which is very important to have a good fit into the racing wheelchair. And yeah, I'm also very happy that I have a lot of support to improve our material, to improve the racing wheelchair. Also the gloves. We wear gloves when we push the wheels, and they are also important. So technology is also a factor.
And has the race become faster because of technology over the times that you've been doing it, especially say since the last 20 years?
Yes, I would definitely say, yeah, was a lot of progress from the technology. The racing wheelchair became faster, more aerodynamic, more lighter, more stiff from carbon fiber and so on. So yeah, there was a huge development. I also was involved in a project where we developed a new racing wheelchair in Switzerland together with different partners. Also, some were involved in Formula One or in cycling, pro cycling tour. So yeah, it was a great experience for me, and I learned a lot from these guys, from these engineers. And yeah, I think there was a lot of progress. Also, of course, the level of the athletes increased. All in all, the training methods uh, new was professional, more professional way of thinking to support everything.
And in context, what kind of times do you cover the marathon in?
The actual world record is 1 hour 17. Um, yeah, it was a long for a long time. It was 1 hour 20 for about 20 years almost. But then, yeah, we had a great development, and now it's 1:17, which is quite faster than the runners. Because yeah, it's quite different from the runners. We have drafting, we have downhills, we have wheels, we have yeah. It's more like cycling. Um, yeah, but also on the track there was a huge development. For example, 1500 meter. For a very long time, there was the barrier from 3 minutes. When you came under 3 minutes, you was a world-class athlete. But now the world record is 2 minutes 40 something, and it's yeah, you have to go under 3 minutes almost in every competition.
And do you feel a pressure with that in terms of like, how do you handle, I suppose you mentioned a couple of things that you have something that you love doing.
Mm.
Was that passion? So I have two questions here. Did the passion happen over time because you found that you were good at it, or was the passion there from the outset, and that gave you the momentum and the drive to continue to get better? And what came
Um,
first?
First, I would say it came from inside, my passion from myself. There was a huge motivation to become better and beat the other athletes, first from Switzerland, but then also internationally, win medals. Um, and then, of course, there came also passion from outside. I mean, when you win medals, when you have the opportunity to be in big international competitions. That's yeah, that's really amazing. These are great experiences, and they give you a lot of passion. But yeah, my passion was always to become better and faster and improve myself.
And you have a sense of gratitude. Do you ever feel that, you look back at yourself and you just say, God, look, this, I've done this, the kind of way. And does gratitude come in?
Sometimes I think that's something I really had to learn to sometimes just to stop and to look back, to be aware what you have done, what you have achieved, to be grateful, but then yeah, to enjoy, to be proud of what you have achieved. I think it's very important because this gives you a lot of energy. But then, of course, after a moment of looking back, you have to do, or you have to go again forward, take the next steps.
And when you go forward to take the next steps, is your attention always in the future, or are you conscious of where your attention is? In other words, during your training and during the game,
Mm,
how do you cope with, say, the likes of mind wandering or doubt creeping in,
mm.
and things like that?
Yeah, I would say as my goals are in the future, I I was in the past, I was many times, or most of the times, I was in the future. But now I learned also to be more in the presence, not always thinking in the future. I still think in the future because as an athlete, you have the goals in the future. But sometimes I try to be aware of the presence. And there, of course, it's also helpful with the breath, of course, definitely, and very helpful. Um, but also be aware of the moment when I am in a competition or in an event, which is very amazing event. I try to be aware of this moment and to keep it in my mind. And yeah, that's helpful.
So you make a conscious agreement with yourself
Yeah.
that during the race you keep bringing your attention back to where
Mm,
you are.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's important as well because I suppose when you have your attention on the race,
Hmm.
then you're fully there and you're with it, as opposed to what a lot of people might be just doing is doing physical exercise, but just going through the motions. In other words, their
Hmm.
attention is stuck in their head and they're not really paying attention to what they're doing. And if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you're not going to have the same degree of quality. Do self doubts ever creep in?
Of course, sometimes it could be in sport, not very often to be honest, but it could be, but more in my daily life. As a every human being, I have some doubts, self-doubts, um, some fear of the future. Uh, right now, especially, I am thinking what my or how my future looks like after my sports career because I am almost 40. So yeah, I have to think about what's coming next. And it's a process, it's a long process. It's difficult to let go because I do it for such a long time.
Totally.
And yeah, of course, I have doubts. In sports, also, of course, when I'm at the start line, I try to focus on myself and on my strengths. Also, breath very helpful to come outside of my brain, of my mind, and yeah, but it can happen.
Of course, of course.
Hmm.
And you're talking about, so whenever you notice that there's a little bit of mind activity that you say to get outside of your brain.
Hmm.
So in other words, not to be stuck in your head, but
Hmm.
I think you
Hmm.
mentioned to bring your attention onto your breath or bring your attention into the body. And
Yeah.
that leads us nicely into breathing. So you came across breathing because we met at an oxygen advantage training in Switzerland.
Hmm.
And when was your kind of, so this kind of ties in as well with the curiosity that you said that as an athlete, you're always learning or you're always kind of looking at new things as well. And breathing is quite new still in sports. And a lot of athletes haven't yet picked up on it, but I do think that they will. Um, I think it's one of those untapped areas. So, how did you come into breathing?
Actually, I read your book, Oxygen Advantage, and for me, it was like a game changer when I learned that I'm too much mouth breathing. As soon when I was stressed, I was mouth breathing, and then I learned to nose breathing, and it was something really, yeah, amazing for me. New experience.
And can I ask Marcel, when you said you were mouth breathing, was that mouth breathing during the day, or was it mouth breathing during sleep, or was it mouth breathing during exercise?
Definitely during day. I'm not sure. I don't remember in exercise. Maybe I think both. I had both. During sleep, I was already nose breathing most of the time, luckily. But during the day, it was a lot of mouth breathing. Yeah.
And then when you switched to nasal breathing, did you feel that it made a difference? In what way?
It makes made a huge difference because I was feeling more by myself, more calm. Heart beating came down. Um, just was more present, less felt less stress. Um, yes. Also, when I had sometimes I do some presentation, public speaking, then I came back to my breathings, to my nose breathings, and then of course expand my exhalation, and then yeah, just calm down, relax. Mhm.
So you're going in to do a presentation, as most people fear. I think it's one of the biggest fears that people have is public talking. And yeah, some people it comes naturally too, and others, we have to kind of build up in it. So what you're saying is that if you're going into it and you're feeling a bit stressed and your heart rate is just a small bit elevated, that you're taking a soft breath in, and
Mhm.
then you said you're expanding the exhalation. So you're having a really
Mhm.
slow and relaxed exhalation. And by doing that, then you're able to tell the brain that you're safe and the heart rate is
Mhm.
slowing down, and then you can focus on your talk. So
Mhm.
have you done that a few times?
Yes, I do it a lot. Also, when I speak to other people and I found out that my mind is wandering, I'm not focused in the presence or when I speak to the person, I just come back to my breathing. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, I think, this is where it is because this is just having simple tools that we can integrate
Mhm.
into our way of life.
Yeah.
And tell me about your training. Do you ever nose breathe during your training, or what way did you, if you started with nasal breathing during your training, what did you kind of experience at the start? Was it more difficult? Did it come easy to you, or how did it go for you?
Yeah, of course, this was then the next step that I learned to do more nasal breathing during exercise in sport. Um, in the beginning, of course, it was more difficult. It was difficult, not very difficult, but sometimes difficult, especially in higher exercise, higher intention. Um, but now it's very easy. It's normal for me. Now it's normal, especially in training. I would say I do maybe 80, around 80% of nasal breathing in exercise in training. Only if in very high intensity sprints I do mouth breathing. And for me, it really helps a lot. I think my endurance became better also because of these exercises. Sometimes I do also altitude training. I also work with the mask. Um, yeah, so
Do you use the sports mask as well?
yeah, I do.
Oh,
Not in every training session, but I have some periods, especially in the preparation for the marathons in fall or in spring. I do maybe 3 times, 4 times a week. I do a training set or maybe 20 minutes session with a mask. Yes.
it's not easy.
It's not easy. I mean, it depends on how much you do the resistance,
That's true,
but
yes.
it's not easy. But yeah, for me, it feels great, especially also after the session when
You take it off.
you take it off, then your breathing is so smooth, so smooth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like it's amazing when we look at the primary or the main drivers of breathing when it comes to physical exercise, and physical training doesn't typically train breathing drivers,
Hmm.
so what you've done is you've tapped into what are these drivers to breathe, such as carbon dioxide sensitivity. You're breathing in and out through your nose. You're exposing your body to higher CO2 so that your body
Hmm.
adapts to that tolerance. You're also helping to strengthen the respiratory muscles because you're wearing the mask.
Yeah.
Um, you're doing breath holds to expose yourself to hypoxic and high CO2.
Hmm.
And also you're paying attention, bringing it out of your head and onto the body. Um,
Yes, and I think my breathing became much more efficient, and especially in our sport, in wheelchair racing, because our sitting position is lying forward. We are lying on our belly, on our chest. So I think an efficient breathing is very important. Is key.
yeah, that's a good point actually. So you're slouched forward, and as a
Mm.
result, then you're compressing the diaphragm, so you don't have that same
Mhm.
degree of movement. Um, it's a little bit like cycling as well, the mechanical
Mhm.
restriction that can impose kind of a limitation. Um, can I just go back to I'm intrigued by your training. 80% of your training is done with your mouth closed because people will be shocked, and you're saying that you sprint with your mouth open. Um, so if we were to kind of break that down into, do you go by the different zones, zone one, zone two, zone three, zone four, zone five? Um, so would it be that you spend 80% of your training in zone two and zone three? So it's kind of moderate to, well, lightish. So zone two is when you're doing physical exercise, you're able to have a conversation, but you feel breathless. Zone three is when your conversation is reduced to a single word. Zone four is when you can't say a thing, and zone five is when you're absolutely at your maximum.
Mhm.
So there's a good chunk that you were able to maintain nasal breathing there. Can you put it into the zones? Could you be a bit more specific in terms of that?
Oh, yes, of course. I go through all the zones, one, two, three, sometimes even four, when I do, I don't know, in English, interval training.
Interval, yes.
Yeah, 400-meter sprints. Of, also then I try to keep my nasal breathing, um, yeah, in as long as possible to stay in it. Of course, in a competition, I don't care about my breathing
Totally.
then. That's
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's the best approach, Marcel, because I think some people have a feeling that whenever we talk about the oxygen advantage, they think that it's 100% nasal breathing. And of course, that's not where it's
no,
at. You
no.
know, it's about using breathing during training to cause adaptations
Hmm.
so that those adaptations carry into your sport, even when you're mouth breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the most difficult thing for me is sometimes when I have a cold and my nose is running, then it's difficult to do no nasal breathing.
Yes.
That's it. But yeah, in other kind of training and all the things I do or I practice it.
And when you're doing your training and your mouth is closed, do you also bring your attention into present moment? Do you bring your attention onto your breath during the training as
Mm.
well?
Yes, yes.
And when your mind wanders off, you bring your attention back onto your breathing.
Yeah, sometimes, of course. Sometimes it's fine when it's wandering, when it's an easy session or whatever, or when I am in a competition, I'm in front. Sometimes I let go, I let wandering. But yeah, sometimes when I have to be focused on what I do, on what my game plan, my tactics, then it's very helpful to bring back my attention with breathing.
And do you feel that your ability now to hold your attention has improved with practice?
Yes, I would say so. But still, I feel I am still learning it. Um, yeah, especially in my daily life. I'm an overthinker, I would say. I think far too much. It becomes better now with all this practice, but still, I'm still thinking too much.
But I think that is an innate tendency of people who make big achievements because it's likely that you've got perfectionist tendencies.
Mm.
And, that's good, because that's what gives you the
Yeah.
drive to continue doing it. And all minds are the same. But there is a tendency, though, with practice, though, that the wandering mind,
Mhm.
we have more control over it, and that's a great place to be because oftentimes people feel that they can't stop thinking and that overthinking is who they are, and of course
Mm.
that's not it. And we can't believe every stupid thing that comes into our head either, because there's a lot of stupid
Yeah.
things
A
come into
lot
our
of
head.
rubbish. Hmm.
A lot of rubbish. You made a good point earlier on that you said when you're talking to people you try and give them attention. Can you expand a little bit on that? It's just I was kind of intrigued about it.
I'm not sure.
So, say for example, we as human beings, we relate to each other.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that we can give to another person is to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, you could be having a conversation with somebody and they're not necessarily giving you attention because they're either stuck in their head or they're overthinking or they're totally distracted by everything that's going on.
Hmm.
But we sense that. We will always sense an individual who gives us our attention versus an individual who doesn't give us our attention. And communication and everything that you said at the start, you were talking about your team, you were talking about the connections, you were talking about the support, but all of that is only useful if we are giving each other attention.
Hmm.
Did you have to purposely, was that just something that you made the decision, okay, I'm not paying this guy attention or girl attention, so now I'm going to start paying more attention?
Yes, because I think it was really, or it is really a problem for me when I talk to someone to, um, yeah, that's my attention is sometimes not there, and I think other people earn that I pay my attention to them, to their conversation. And very often after a conversation, I was thinking, oh, what did this person say? I don't remember. I didn't really pay attention, or I forgot what he told me. And that's a shame. That's really sad because there's a lot of good information. And also, I think that the connection comes much more deeper and closer when there is really good connection or good attention to each other. That's very important. And yeah, I was really poor in that. I lost my attention very often, and I still do sometimes. Um, yeah,
Which is normal.
which is normal, but for me, I think it was too much. And Yeah, I really want to pay more attention to other people because they earn it. It's important. I also want to, when I speak to someone, that he or she pays her attention to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, your recovery, do you track your heart rate variability? Do you look at the autonomic nervous system? Do you alter your training in accordance with your nervous system? How does that go?
Yes, I track my uh, heart rate, HRV, every morning. Um, Also tells me a little bit about the balance of the nerve systems. I do also sometimes some techniques in like coherence breathing. Um, yeah, I do also in training. I do not in every training, but in some trainings, I track the heart rate. Yes.
So recovery is an important part. Has that changed in the 20 years? The awareness of the importance of recovery as opposed to an athlete just push, push, push.
Absolutely. Recovery is very important as an athlete for to have success, to bring the heart rate down. So also for me, sleep is sometimes a challenge to find my sleep. It takes sometimes a very long time. So it's also helpful for me to do the breath light practice to calm down. Also, of course, to come out of my mind. That's not a big problem for sleep, but yeah, just to relax the body. It's very helpful.
And do you ever find, say, for example, if there's a competition the following day, does the anticipation of the competition sometimes get in the way of your sleep that night?
Sorry again.
So if you have a competition the following day,
Mhm.
does that sometimes affect then, if you're thinking about it, would that or may that affect your sleep then that night?
Yes, of course, it has a big influence, but uh, thanks to my experience, now I know that if I have a bad night, poor sleep, it doesn't my performance the next day a lot. I had some marathons, very successful marathons without sleep the night before. But of course, when it's 2 or 3 nights bad sleep, then it has an effect. Absolutely. Then it's not the optimum. And then, yeah, I also had a period of time when it was very difficult in a psychological way to feel the pressure you have to sleep now. And then there comes anxiety
Yep.
that you can't sleep. Luckily, then I worked also together with a sports psychologist, and luckily we found some solutions also with breathing to to relax and keep these thoughts away.
It's a big problem, Marcel. I never kind of looked at about 30% of people are either waking up in the middle of the night or have difficulty falling asleep, and 10% have it chronically.
Mhm.
And typically, I think it's 8.6% of people in the USA take sleeping pills to fall asleep or to stay asleep. Um, I have found the guided audio is very helpful, especially
Mhm.
with travel, because
Yeah.
I just found at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I wake up myself, um, even using breathing, and because there is a tendency still for the mind to wander at that point, which is it kind of wanders more maybe in the darkness of the night and the silence of the night. Um, but the anxiety or the pressure to fall asleep, I find it myself. I just put on the guided audio, I listen to it, and then it brings me into sleep much quicker than if I was to do it myself. I think the sleep is a big one, but it's great if you then don't have that same pressure because you know that you have achieved great
Yeah,
performance times,
very helpful. Yeah.
which is brilliant. Um, because the pressure itself can hamper the very thing that you want to try and improve. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm just conscious of time, and where do you think it's all going? Like tying it in with breathing then as well. I'd love to see breathing in the athlete world. I think you're one of the exceptions. I won't say the exception, but I think, I don't know, maybe 5% of athletes, maybe 10% are doing breathing. It hasn't still gone mainstream. And you talked about a lot there. You talked about breathing light. You
Hmm.
talked about coherence breathing, breathing slow. You talked about the mechanical restriction, breathing low. So you covered all three dimensions there. You
Yeah.
also talked about nose breathing. You talked about simulation of altitude training during the breath holds, and you did sports mask. So you've looked at breathing, but you've covered every single theory. So you've gone quite deep into it. Where do you think it's going in terms of a tool? Because I'll give you an example. I gave a talk pre-Tour de France there about a month ago, and it was just 2 days before the Tour de France or 3 days before the Tour de France. And a lot of exercise physiologists and very capable individuals at a world class level in the fields of exercise physiology and science. And I gave an hour's talk or 40 minutes. And I just felt that a lot of them didn't fully understand that
Mhm.
breathing does play a role. Do you see anything changing, or was it just that you came into it on an individual basis? Like, I'd love to know your take of it. Where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I think, or I'm absolutely sure that breathing has a lot of potential uh, in sport for high performance, to improve your performance, but also for everyone's daily life. And I think now more and more attention is coming into breathing. It has to, because our world is going more and more crazy or faster. And so, yeah, I think there is a lot of potential. And when it comes more and more attention to it, it will also come into to sport, in high level sport, because the athletes, we are looking for every single percent of advantage or improvement. And there is definitely breathing is is a big factor. And yeah, it's just a question of time that it comes, or it will have more attention. I'm very surprised that it still have not that much attention yet, that there is so much attention to so many things, so much research. But in this simple thing of breathing, maybe it's too simple for to become or to get attention. But yeah, for the future, I think it has a lot of potential. That's also a reason why I did your class. Not only because I think I have an advantage of it, I can learn a lot of it, but also because I think if in the future I want to work together with athletes or with all different kind of people, um, it yeah, it's not without breathing. It's a big factor.
I think so. Yeah. What's your plans? In the just off air, we were talking about, you were saying that you've got some kind of wonderful trips coming up. So it's now the 21st of July, and you've got a few days off. You start full time back in August. How is your kind of trips? What trips do you have coming up in the short term?
Yeah, now still in training period. Well, after next week, I have a training camp together with juniors from around Europe here in Nottwil in Switzerland, which is very exciting. And then, yeah, it will be a very busy time coming up with a lot of competitions in August here in Switzerland. But then I go also around the world, starts in Australia with a marathon, coming back to Europe, Berlin Marathon. I have New York Marathon, Chicago Marathon, one in Japan, World Championships in September in India, New Delhi. So it will be very busy. So it will be, I guess it will be very helpful to take a deep breath sometimes between.
I think it could be necessary to do it, huh?
Yeah, right.
Well, listen, thanks so much for the conversation. I think it was
Thank
brilliant
you.
and your insights and your experience, and I wish you well. And I've no doubt, even at 30, well, not even at 39, but whatever future endeavors you're doing, I'm sure you're going to go into the health and fitness space. I think you're very apt for it. So bringing in breathing, that's brilliant to hear. So Marcel Hug, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for
Thank
having the
you. It was a
conversation.
pleasure as well. Thank you.